What's going on, guys? This is the baseball show here at 360 Sports. I hope you're all having a great day. I'm joined alongside Hudson, Brendan, and Grace. I'm Ben. Postseason baseball is finally here. We're going to jump right into it here with some wildcard matchups that actually were underway. The Tigers, who actually just clinched today, they beat the Astros. But the Royals, Mets, and Padres, Royals are currently playing. Mets and Padres play tonight, guys. They all walked away with victories last night. And what are your guys' thoughts? Brendan, we'll start with you.
I mainly watched the Orioles and Royals game yesterday, and quite frankly, as a Baltimore sports fan, I was pretty embarrassed. Orioles, they look like they're swinging toothpicks out there. Their situational hitting is pretty lackluster. I didn't think it was a great game on either side. 1-0 game, obviously low offense, but the way it's looking right now is looking like the Yankees are going to make it to the championship series. I don't see a way that the Royals and Orioles played like they did yesterday. Either of them will make it out of that.
Yeah.
I have to agree with him. I mean, the Orioles and the Royals, they had a pretty close game yesterday. It looks like they're having a pretty close game right now, as a matter of fact. So it's looking pretty good for the Yankees if the Royals keep the momentum going. I mean, the Tigers, they just advanced. They're going to be facing the Guardians. And, I mean, I feel like the Tigers have a good chance at beating the Guardians, so we might see them face off against the Yankees in the championship series.
Yeah, absolutely. Grace?
Yeah, see, I didn't actually watch the Orioles and Royals game. I watched the other 3 games, but everything I saw said it was pretty good. I watched the Mets-Brewers game. There was a lot of good, a lot of bad, but the Mets came out on top, so I was happy. But the pitching was really good for, like, most of the games. I say the only bad pitching I really saw was in the Braves with the first, I think he pitched the first 4 innings. I don't remember his name, but he was a rookie, and he was a little bit rough.
Yeah, I was definitely looking at the Mets-Brewers game because, obviously, I don't like the Brewers because I'm a Pirates fan. I don't like them at all. So, I mean, I think the Mets are going to win tonight. I don't think the Brewers have good enough pitching, good enough hitting, I guess. But I think they mostly rely on pitching, and I think just, like, Brewers were in the NL Central. That division's a cakewalk. I mean, I know that for firsthand. But, yeah, we'll head over to the teams that don't play, or that don't play until the next round. That's the Yankees, Phillies, Guardians, and Dodgers. But none of them reached 100 wins. So it could be a little bit of a mix-up here. We can see what happens. But who's the scariest out of them?
I'd have to say the Dodgers. I mean, Shohei Ohtani, he just came off of like a history-making season. So, I mean, they've just been white-hot recently, so it's hard to argue that they're probably the scariest heading into the postseason.
Yeah. I'd have to agree with them. I have to say the Dodgers, but unfortunately, the way it's shaping up right now, they're going to get a pretty bad draw getting San Diego in the division series. I think the other 3 teams just have too many flaws. The Phillies, they're good, but not great on really all facets of the game. The Yankees, outside of Judge and Soto, don't really have an offense. Same thing with the Guardians, just down the line. They're good, but not great. I think the Dodgers have great things in other aspects.
Yeah, I definitely think the Dodgers have a lot of potential, but they also, Shohei Ohtani's never played in a playoff game, and I mean, I think he'll be good no matter what. He's Shohei Ohtani, but I'm curious to see like how he actually plays since it's a completely different like environment for him. I actually had the Phillies as the scariest team just because I think they have a team that's like stacked with stars, and sometimes like you'd be surprised by how well they come out.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen the Phillies the second half of the year weren't as strong as they were in the second half, or in the first half, excuse me, but definitely have to agree with you there on the Dodgers. I mean, this guy's on another planet right now, as well as Aaron Judge on the Yankees. But, I mean, I think this guy, he hasn't even pitched yet this year. So, I mean, like, just imagine these stats on top of pitching. I think that's unbelievable. But, yeah, no, I'd say the Dodgers. I think they have the most all around. Like, they have talent, top to bottom, starting roster. Guardians, for sure. I think their pitching is what mainly got them in here. We're going to probably need to see more from Josh Naylor, especially. Second half of the year wasn't that strong. But, yeah, for me, I'll probably got to go with the Dodgers as well. But anyways, we're going to be moving on to the Dream Playoff Series. You guys will be going up to the board. We're going to be matching up against, we're going to be going, potential playoff matches that you guys want to see. We're going to be going, Grace, you're going to be going first.
Yep. So my dream playoff series is going to be the Dodgers versus the Mets. See, I said this before, but I'm a Mets fan, but I also grew up in New York, so my dad really liked the Dodgers, and his dad also really liked the Dodgers. So I just think it'd be cool to, like, see that again. And I know that this year was a little bit rough for the Mets versus Dodgers series because The Mets lost, I think, 2 of the games. But the last time they played in a playoff game was in 2015, and the Mets did come out on top. So I'm pretty hopeful that if the Mets do end up playing them, they'd win.
Yeah, I think the Mets are definitely gonna make some noise in the playoffs. I think the Dodgers have a fair shot
Yeah, I hope so.
as well, though. But yeah, you can come back. Hudson, you can go.
So my dream playoff series is the Yankees against the Tigers. I mean, the Tigers, they had a 2% chance of heading into the playoffs to begin with, like at the beginning of August. And now here they are. The Yankees are arguably like the best team in the American League right now. So this is basically a matchup of like the underdogs versus the best in the whole entire league.
Yeah, absolutely.
The way that both teams are playing right now, that's looking very much like a possibility
Yeah.
with the current field.
Tigers surprised me though. Like, didn't you guys believe the Tigers would make it?
No.
Not a
far.
chance.
I didn't even
No.
think anything of
I didn't
the
have them making it out of
Tigers.
this wild card series.
No, I didn't.
I
I mean,
didn't
like,
think
I,
there was any shot.
I don't know if you guys have seen like with the odds the Tigers had. It was like a 0.2%.
0.2% in August.
Yeah, like
You
that's
don't see that very
unbelievable.
often.
Well, did you see that there's only one player on the Tigers who's ever played in a playoff game right now?
It's a very young group. If this is
Yeah.
any
Yeah, it's
indication, they're
crazy.
going to be. This isn't going to be their first time back.
This guy's got to
Yeah,
get going.
definitely.
Spencer Torkelson.
Yes,
I
he
mean,
does.
he was a top draft pick a couple years ago, but yeah. But I mean, the Tigers, they got it under cover. I think I'd say the Yankees. I mean, like when you guys mentioned earlier that outside of Judge and Soto, they really have much of an offense. But yeah,
It would definitely be a fun series.
yeah.
Definitely.
Well, Brendan.
So my dream series is in the National League side. It does include the Dodgers, but it is the Dodgers and the Padres. These are the best 2 teams in baseball. The Dodgers, they have the best lineup in the league, but the Padres still took the season series 8-5. Both these teams are headlined by stars that have a lot to prove. As we mentioned earlier, Shohei has not played in the playoffs yet, and the rest of the stars on that team coming off of a very disappointing playoff loss to Arizona last year. Fernando Tatis leading San Diego, looking to kind of enter that upper echelon of stars. Right now, he's kind of in that 1B area. Being the best player on a championship team could easily put him as a conversation for one of the best players in the league. We saw this play out in 2022 in the NLDS. The Padres came out on top. It was an amazing series, and if they take care of business tonight, I believe that this will be an even better series this year.
Yeah, no, I like the Dodgers in this series.
I do
for
too, but I
sure.
think it'll be very close.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, with how
I
the
wouldn't go out the
Padres are
Padres.
doing right now against the Braves, it's most likely this is going to happen.
Yeah,
they're-
definitely.
I mean, the Padres have been white hot since the second
They
half.
looked very good.
They've looked very good, and it's exactly what because past few years with Soto, with Juan Soto on the Padres, they didn't really do too much. But I think now this year they finally got it together. The pitching's finally coming together. Joe Musgrove on the hill tonight for them against Max Fried. But 3.88 ERA going up against Max Fried, who has been pitching pretty well so far. But yeah, I guess we'll go to my pick now. These are 2 teams that I definitely favor the Royals over this, but it's the Royals and Yankees. Kansas City hasn't made a playoff appearance since 2015, and that's when they won the World Series. They finally got it back together with Bobby Witt, and the pitching's been great. Seth Lugo coming out of absolutely nowhere, just a veteran that they picked up in the offseason, has been great. And Cole Reagans, I think, is his name too. He's been a young guy, young lefty arm. But for the Yankees, we talked about this many times on the show, the pitching has been better. Luis Gill's been pretty good, but Garrett Cole obviously as well. But outside of Judge and Soto, there's really not that much. But I can see these 2 faring up, especially in the pitching aspect. I think it's going to be tough to stop Aaron Judge and Juan Soto, despite them just being only 2 players. But yeah, I think that the series will be really good.
I can see that being a very low-scoring series with the Kansas City's rotation and just kind of the lack of offense that both teams had outside of their star players.
Yeah, absolutely. I just like this guy. This guy's just on another
Bobby
planet.
Witt Jr. is
Me
on
too.
another level.
He's on it, and
He's
I
really
was looking
cool.
up earlier. He leads the Royals in every stat offensively.
Wow.
At batting average, home
That's
runs, RBIs, OPS, everything. It's unbelievable.
Not surprising.
After last night as an Orioles fan, I'm not his biggest fan,
Yeah,
but he's
no.
a great player.
I like the Orioles though. I think the Orioles could make a comeback here. I mean, obviously, I want this to happen, so I'm actually rooting against them. Sorry. Anyways, we'll be moving on to MLB matching. We have 5 athletes on the board with 5 different batting averages. We're going to be basing this off of career playoff batting average, so not regular season, just career playoff average. So think about how often these guys have been in the playoffs and how well they've been on their teams. So So we got Max Muncy, Jose Ramirez, Manny Machado, Giancarlo Stanton, and JD Martinez. So for me, though, I would say JD Martinez probably one of the highest. I'd say he's 298 just because he's been in the league for so long.
I would say either him or Jose Ramirez, just because he has always been kind of not necessarily a contact guy, but a good mix of contact and power, and he has made it his fair share of times. But JD could definitely be 298.
Yeah, JD. Well, I just think JD because like he was on the playoff team when the Tigers made it 10 years ago.
He has been
So
there
it's
a
like,
lot.
and that Tigers team was really good. But JD. So we're thinking JD Martinez is 298.
Yeah, I go 298.
What about Giancarlo? What do you guys think about
He's
that?
got to be low.
Really?
He didn't really make it until he was in New York. I don't believe the Marlins made a playoff series
I don't
when
think
he was
they
there.
did either. But I mean, the Yankees have made the playoffs every year with him. I'm pretty sure, except for last year.
He's
obviously.
never been much of an average guy, so I'd have to probably say either 217 or 242.
Okay.
I'm going to go with 234, actually.
234.
I feel like in between is a good spot.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, I think
agree.
that's a good in between spot for sure for Giancarlo. But Manny Machado, I think that this guy's probably 260 in my opinion.
He's definitely up there,
'Cause
especially with who we have left, who we have Max
Max
Muncy and
Muncy,
Jose Ramirez.
Yeah.
Is that the last one we have? Is that Max Muncy? Did we do Ramirez?
No, we didn't do Ramirez.
We have JD at 298. We have Stan at 234.
Okay.
And then
Machado. I don't know what to do with Machado. That's tough. Because like he played with the Orioles and he was also made
played with the
playoffs
Orioles, had a
them.
couple series with San Diego.
Yeah. I can say he's 242.
I would say 242.
Middle of the pack.
242.
Because
I
that
think-
would put
It would make sense Giancarlo because he's not like a big average guy. He's definitely more of a power guy. Max Muncy though, I feel like he's pretty low.
I feel like I'd put him
Yeah,
at 217,
217.
especially
I was
with,
gonna say.
Yeah.
with Jose Ramirez being the last one on the board.
What would Jose Ramirez?
He would be
60, I think.
260.
Yeah, 260.
Yeah. So 298 JD. Oh wait, didn't we say he? No, he's 234.
Yeah,
Yeah.
234.
He's 242.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
217 and
60.
260.
260.
All right, we locked in our picks. Let's see what we can do. Let's see what we got right here.
How close are we?
All right. Let's see. So we got
Wow.
260. We got these
Wow.
right.
Wow.
We got this right. 260
No.
for Giancarlo.
Who would have thought?
Wow. I would have never thought that. Manny Machado at the lowest. Not Max Muncy.
He has been characterized kind of as a playoff underperformer, but I didn't
Yeah.
realize it was 217 bad.
Yeah, I thought.
Yeah.
Well, I thought Max Muncy. I know he struggled with average lately. I know like last year he had a big downfall. I thought that would help because they made it last year. Jose Ramirez makes sense too. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I
We
think
didn't do too bad.
I don't think we did too bad. Yeah.
Close enough.
All right. Well, we're moving on here to the disappointing clubs, teams that are not in the playoffs because they are not good. And, well, part of the reason why they're not good is because of their manager. So I want you guys to, we all picked, so let's see who's the most disappointing and see what manager is on the hot seat. We're going to start with Grace.
So I said that the Toronto Blue Jays were my most disappointed clubhouse. See, they just signed Vladimir Guerrero to an almost $20 million deal, and he played great this year. He had, I think, 30 home runs, 103 RBIs. Like, he did pretty good. He had a batting average of .323. So it was expected that this team was going to be playing really well. They had Bo Bichette, who he led the AL in his hits the last 2 years, but then this year he had a horrible season. Everybody said it's basically a throwaway. He only had 4 home runs, 31 RBIs, but he only played 81 games. So
Yeah, no, this is a good pick. I think the Blue Jays have just been completely trashed lately,
Yeah.
and I can't even explain it. I'm speechless.
yeah, they already fired their hitting coach and their field coordinator and their bullpen coach, but it says as of right now they're not firing their manager, but I don't know, that could change.
That could change. I'd say it
Very
changes soon. I
quickly.
mean, this team was supposed to be competing. Like they have like you said, Bo Bichette, Vlad Guerrero. They brought in Jose Barrios a couple years ago. He hasn't really panned out that well. We all know about Alek Manoah. You know how that fall off was. That was about early in the year, but yeah, no, I like this pick. We're gonna go with Hudson next.
All right, so I went with the Colorado Rockies. I mean, they've had Bud Black since like about 2017, I believe, and they've only produced 2 winning seasons since then. They haven't had a winning season since about 2018. They were dead last in their division, and I mean, like, it wasn't even close. They were like 20 games behind, just, like second to last, and they had the second most losses this season, like right behind the White Sox. So
Yeah,
it's a pretty easy choice here.
yeah. This was the biggest part of their season. Charlie Blackmon retiring. Great guy, great player. Yeah, I remember watching him like years ago with like when the Pirates would always play the Rockies, he would just terrorize them all the time. But yeah, no, that's a good pick. I think the Rockies have a lot of work to do, especially with Chris Bryant.
They're caught in a rough spot right now because they are playing in a very stacked division where there are 4 other good teams that they're playing against, and they're in the middle of a decline right now.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for them was when they signed Chris Bryant to that big deal, and he just never panned out. But well, we'll go with Brendan next.
So my pick, they were the betting favorites to win their division coming into this year. I feel like they always are, and they never really turn out. It is the St. Louis Cardinals. Now, they did improve this year from last year. They were a 71-win team last year. They won 83. But again, they were betting favorites to win their division. The rest of the NL Central is continuing to improve with young talent. Cincinnati, Chicago, Pittsburgh, they all have an influx of young talent. And the Cardinals, they've got a relatively old team. They've got some young stars, but a lot of their best players are old. So as they continue to decline, the rest of the division is going to get better. So I don't see it panning out very well for them. Their pitching staff, they just signed this past offseason a lot of older guys. They have one of the oldest pitching staffs in the league, but they do have a middle-of-the-pack ERA, which doesn't really pan out well.
Yeah, the pitching, I know Sonny Gray was on their roster this year. I don't think he did too bad, but overall I think, I saw they also got rid of Goldschmidt, the old guy. But yeah, I think the Cardinals, that they still have Arenado under contract for at least a couple more years.
I think his best years, though, are kind of behind him as far as
I think the downfall is beginning, and I think the Cardinals are going to probably want to reconsider just going into that rebuild. I think they're just kind of at a crossroads where they're just like mediocre.
And it's unfortunate because they are kind of in a middling division. They aren't in really the best division in baseball, the NL Central, but there are a lot of pretty solid teams, and they're just kind of sitting in the mix right now, which the Cardinals as a franchise, they're not used to being in this kind of spot. They're used to winning, and if Ollie can't kind of get these guys together, I think he'll be out the door pretty soon.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that's a division for anyone to win as well, especially this team, which is going to be my team next, and that is Pittsburgh Pirates and Derek Shelton. Now, this guy sucks. I hate him. He's the worst.
As a Pirates fan, he does suck.
Fist bump. Give me that. Fist bump. The Derek Shelton, he does not know how to manage a bullpen for his life. He throws out Michael A. Taylor, who's hitting probably below 200 the entire year. He was batting 400 at the beginning of the year. He fell off. Still keeps him in the lineup the entire season. This guy's been our savior, Paul Skeens. This guy, he's gonna hopefully change around this franchise. But like the bullpen was top 3 beginning of the year this entire year, and it just ended up being completely terrible. And this is all the fault of this man.
I mean, even with Paul Skeens, they kept the same record as they did last year.
Yeah, I guess so. But like we're obviously better last year. We had a healthy Onu Cruz all year. We had Andrew McCutcheon hitting 20 bombs, Brian Reynolds hitting 280, all go along with 20 bombs. This guy can't manage his team. He brings out players. He keeps players down the minors for too long. He doesn't have them play. I don't. I'm running out of things to say.
I get your frustration.
I don't understand why he's still our manager. I mean, I'm at least we fired. The only thing we did good was fire Andy Haynes, the hitting coach.
Yeah.
So I think that's really huge.
They definitely do have one of the big disparities between offense and pitching outside of Skeens. Their rotation really is not. Besides Paul Skeens, maybe Jared Jones, their bullpen, not great. The offense is solid enough, but the starting rotation and bullpen really don't make up for that.
No, the pitching was the most big. That was the best part, obviously, for this team. But I just think that if the offense doesn't get fixed by next year, this guy's got to go. Or if the bullpen continues to struggle, I want to see David Bednar bounce back from a bad season, a bad 6-0 year. Anyways, after I'm done with that, we're gonna move on to will hopefully be this guy in the future, MVP talk. We're gonna end today's show by quickly going over the MVPs in the AL and NL. Aaron Judge and Shohei are the favorites. Do you guys agree?
I mean, Shohei, no doubt, he had one of the best regular seasons of any baseball player ever, 50-50. I mean, during that game, he had unbelievable stats that were just absolutely insane. And there was even a debate if he could make 60-60, so.
Yeah, well, I mean, we haven't even seen this dude pitch yet.
Yeah.
I think this guy's going to be a great player. I mean, what am I saying?
He is a great player.
Oh, my God. I'm just still coming down from that Pirates rant, I guess. But, Brennan, what do you think?
I really don't think this is debatable. I think we can kind of turn in our ballots now. I think both these guys should be unanimous MVPs. As we talked about, Shohei, 50-50, he's kind of it's a very good Dodgers lineup, but he is the heart and soul of that lineup. Aaron Judge, I know there were talks of Bobby Witt Jr. winning the MVP, but in terms of what the MVP means, most valuable player, if you take Aaron Judge out of that lineup, are they a playoff team? I don't think they are. I mean 58 home runs on the year. See,
you could say the same thing about Bobby Witt, though. I feel like without Bobby Witt, that offense is nothing. That's my take.
I mean,
That's
he's putting
true.
up Judge is putting up historic year.
Yeah, obviously it's historic. I would say probably Bobby Witt or Aaron Judge. It's up in the air, but
Yeah, I think there's really no argument. It's Judge and Ohtani. Of course, I would like it to be Francisco Lindor because he's been playing fantastic, but
Yeah.
Ohtani's season is just like too unmatched. If it was any other year, I think Francisco Lindor by like 1,000 times, but Shohei Ohtani is just too good this year.
yeah, I don't see Paul Skeens in either one of these two things. But I mean, I'd say Lindor probably would be a good second option if this guy wasn't in the NL. Like he would obviously win the A. I mean, if Shohei Ohtani was still on the Angels, would you say AL? Who would you say, Judge or Ohtani? If Ohtani was still in the AL.
That's pretty tough to compare because if he was on the Angels aren't very good. They
Yeah.
probably wouldn't be in the
Yeah.
playoffs.
Yeah, they
I'd
would
still
not
take
be in
Judge.
the playoffs.
That's fair.
If Ohtani was on a playoff team in the AL, I would probably take him. I think his season, just overall, it's something we haven't seen, and it's something that brings, I think 50-50, obviously it was more than that, brings more value than 58 home runs and however many RBIs Aaron Judge had. But I think he brings more value as a DH across the entire
I'd say
offense.
so, yeah. But I just think this guy's going to win NL MVP every year now
Yeah.
after he's back pitching.
I think there's
Like if
no chance for anyone.
if he can still pitch, I mean, look out.
Game over for
But
everyone.
it is a shame how you said with Francisco Lindor and Bobby Witt, in any other year, I think they would be the MVP. They were both having some great shortstop seasons, but
Yeah,
it's a
some of
shame
the
they
best.
had to do it this year.
Had to do it against two of the best.
Yeah, well, I would say, if anything, like Lindor deserves his flowers for that, just because he's
They both do, yeah.
single-handedly like helped the Mets back into the playoffs. I think that remember that clutch home run against the Braves?
It was
Yeah, that
Like that was probably
Legendary.
legendary. Oh, if I was a Mets fan, I'd freak out. But
I was.
and again, in any other year, that'd be an MVP defining moment to get your
Yeah.
team into the
I'd
playoffs
say
on a
so.
go-ahead homer in the ninth.
this guy was
but
in the league, yeah.
if
But
Shohei didn't exist.
that's gonna do it
All
for.
right,
oh,
we have a question.
never
Who
mind.
is your X factors, each of you, for the postseason?
X factors.
Yes.
Well, I said this earlier. We were doing the what is it, TikTok? I say Bobby Witt. Also, follow the TikTok. But Bobby Witt, I think, obviously, like I said earlier, leads everything. Leads every stat in the offensive category. So on the Royals, but I'd say Bobby Witt's an X factor for sure.
I'd have to go Shohei. I mean, like, he's the best player, like I said, this entire season. So that's an easy choice for the postseason.
I'm going to go with the most exciting player on, in my opinion, the most exciting team in the playoffs, Fernando Tatis Jr. He is the heart and soul of that offense. He is electric. He will get San Diego going. They're already going. 43-19 since the All-Star break. He can get them carried over. He could potentially will them to a win over the Dodgers, leading them to the NLCS. He's a fantastic player, and I think he's absolutely the X factor of the playoffs.
Yeah, I gotta go Francisco Lindor. I mean, that home run, it was just everything about what he's been doing recently has just been like so monumental to this team. Like watching them go from like 0-5 to like Francisco Lindor finally like playing well.
Yeah.
It's just been like has been so just incredible to watch.
Yeah, it's a good point because Lindor's been like, he's hasn't been living up to his contract, I'd
Yeah.
say, for the past or for the
Few
first few
years.
years of his deal. But it's like he's finally got to figure it out. He got the Mets in the playoffs. Hopefully, going to beat the Brewers because I don't like the Brewers. But
Hopefully.
that's going to be
We
it.
have
Another one.
question.
Holy
What are
more
your predictions for tonight's games?
Predictions for tonight's games.
Yes.
Well-
Mets Brewers.
Mets Brewers, I guess. What do you guys want? You want to start?
I'm going to go with the Mets. I mean, like, they're on a roll. It's hard to argue that the Brewers, they're probably the weakest team out of all the postseason teams.
Well, on that note, give me Milwaukee. I think the Mets have been playing really streaky ball, as you saw in the doubleheader. Very back-and-forth game, even yesterday in the beginning, back and forth. I don't think that's very sustainable going into the postseason, winning a back-and-forth like that. I'm going to take Milwaukee in this one.
I think it's going to depend on the pitching, but if Sean Manaea pulls through, I think the Mets definitely have a good shot. Like, he's been pitching really well recently. I think he had one bad outing the last time he was out, but other than that, he's been really solid for the Mets. So I think as long as he does what we need him to do, the Mets should win.
Yeah, I've this Padres Braves series. I just think that the Braves are just too injured. I think all around.
That
whole
doubleheader
offense.
definitely took a lot out of
Yeah.
them.
Plus that as well. They had to play. I mean, but the Mets were doing good. That's the thing.
Yeah, but the Mets,
I mean, the Mets won the first game,
Yeah.
so they got
I guess
to
they
rest
didn't really
their
have much to
players.
worry about.
Yeah.
That's a
I think
good
the
point.
Braves put a lot of their pitching in already before the game was over. So then the Mets didn't have to put any pitching in for the second game, but the second game was important for the Braves, so they had to pull all their stops.
Yep.
I think it's pretty miraculous that Atlanta even made the playoffs in the first place.
Yeah.
With all the injuries
Yeah.
they went through the season, having Acuna out for pretty much the entire year, still making it into the postseason. But unfortunately, I'll fanboy one last time. They're running into the buzzsaw that is San Diego. Give me San Diego in this game.
Yeah, I feel bad for Diamondbacks fans, man. Like, 'cause, like, imagine
was a
having to
rough
watch that
situation.
and just be like, there's no way a split can happen here out of all
Yeah.
things.
imagine.
Diamondbacks, who made it to the World Series last year, NL champs last year. But for me, I'd probably say the Padres, for sure. I think the Padres will secure that, just because of how injured they are. But the Braves or Mets and Brewers, that's a game I'm going to be watching tonight.
Yes, it is.
I think the Mets will win. I think Francisco Lindor will deliver. It's Chamonix versus Frankie Montas, who Frankie Montas hasn't been great so far, or hasn't been great so far this year. 4.84 ERA, but Chamonix solid sub 3 ERA. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for us today here at 360.
As long as there's no more questions.
As long as there's no more questions. Yeah, well, tomorrow is a Frenzy show, so make sure you guys tune in at the same time, 5:50 for that. I'm Ben. Join alongside me, Hudson. Is that your name?
Yeah.
Hudson. Brendan and Grace. I'm Ben. See you guys next time.